Good afternoon, everyone. For those who already joined us, we will start exactly at 7 o'clock. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this evening's parent webinar. I'm Johan van Dil, and I'm the coordinator of the Kiro Learner Support Unit. Tonight, we're going to talk about the role of parents in academic success. So if we talk about the role of parents in academic success, there are key areas of parental support where parent support is essential for a child's development. So the first one we're looking at is emotional support, and that's to provide reassurance and encouragement to build your child's self-esteem and resilience. And then the other form of support is academic support, which we are going to focus a lot on tonight, engaging in learning activities and homework help while respecting the child's independence. And I want to say the last bit again, how to respect the child's independence, I think, is one of the critical factors within this academic support. And then social support, encouraging healthy social interactions and helping children navigate school dynamics. And all of these key areas of parental support plays a pivotal role in your child's academic success. So let's look at parental involvement strategies. I think one of the strategies is communication with teachers and school staff to monitor academic progress and development. As you know, as a Kiro parent, it's important for us that we will communicate with each other, because we know as teachers we can only do so much. We need your support from parents, and as you know, the relationship between parents and the schools and teachers in Kiro is a very important aspect of being a part of the Kiro family. And then also attendance and participation in school events and parent-teacher meetings to show engagement. And those parent-teacher meetings are really important, and it's an important aspect of your child's development. And it's always important to ask questions to your teacher. They are more than willing to answer. They actually want to talk about your child. So be present and come to those meetings. And then I think another strategy is really to help your child setting realistic expectations and recognizing effort over the ability to promote, so that you can promote the ability of a growth mindset. If you've attended some of these webinars before, you know that I talk a lot about growth mindset according to the work of Carol Dweck. I think that is such an important part of the development of our children. So let's talk about the impact of parental support on learning outcomes. So if you look at studies, and this I'm going to quote now 5 very well-known studies that prove quite a lot of things, what the impact is if parents are involved in the children's learning. So the first one I would like to quote is the one from Fan and Chen. It's a 2001 study, and it delves into the various dimensions of parental involvement, ranging from home-based activities to participation in school functions. And the findings demonstrate that when parents invest time and show interest in their child's education, it can lead to improved behavior in learners. So this improvement is attributed to the reinforcement of discipline and the communication of expectations by involved parents. Moreover, the research suggests that such involvement instills in learners a sense of responsibility and respect for educational institutions, which is likely to carry through to their adult lives, influencing their prosperity and the propensity to complete formal education. Another study that is really impactful and very well known is the one by Hill and Tyson. It's a 2009 study, and it expands upon these findings by highlighting specific practices that foster academic motivation and social development. Reading to children, for instance, is not merely a bonding activity, but also serves as an early introduction to language, literacy, and the pleasures of learning. Regular reading habits established early can create a lifelong affinity for knowledge and exploration. Complementary to this research is also research done by Don Holdaway, and he also found that if parents put their children on their lap from a young age and share books with them, their literacy levels are just so much higher than their peers who did not have that privilege. So monitoring homework is also another key area where parental involvement in this study showed is highly beneficial. It allows parents to understand the academic challenges their children face and to work together to overcome them. And this collaborative effort can enhance the learner's problem-solving skills and foster an environment where academic pursuits are valued. Attending school events and engaging with teachers and other parents build a community around the child that values education. And this communication support provides learners with a network that encourages academic and personal growth. And it's all about academic and personal growth. It also demonstrates to children that their educational journey is a shared interest, which can be incredibly affirming. Setting educational goals is about instilling ambition and a vision for a future in learners. And when parents set and communicate these goals, they help children to understand the value of education and to view it as a pathway to success, whatever their definition of success may be. And then there are three more studies that I would like quickly to refer to. The one is by Gonzalez de Haas. It's also a 2005 study. And they found that the presence of supportive parents can foster an environment of respect for learning, and children of involved parents develop attitudes and behaviors like persistence and curiosity that are also conducive to learning. So we always ask, why are kids not having the values of being persistent and being curious? We always wonder why, and they found that one of the reasons that support this is that when parents are supportive. And then positive teacher-parent interactions was a study that's done by Henderson and Mapp in 2002, which I also think is very important. What role does this positive teacher-parent interaction play? And it is linked to increase academic self-efficacy and reduce behavior issues. When parents and teachers work together, children are more likely to take on academic challenges and excel at them. And that was a very well-known study, and it was also reviewed by many other universities. So it is a very well-known, and it was not only peer-reviewed, but not internally, also externally. And then children whose parents convey the importance of academic success. So if you talk to your child about academic success and who model learning behavior, so if you are a lifelong learner, and who fosters a non-authoritarian home environment. I'm going to come back to that non-authoritarian home environment. tend to achieve higher academically. And this was also a very famous study done by Wildinger and McIntyre. These are just 5 studies of many, many, just to confirm that there's been so much thinking and studying done in this field of the role that parents play in their children's academic success. But there's an intricate balance of parent involvement. So you've got fostering independence on the one side, but you also have support that you need to give. And to find that balance is what is difficult. So let's understand this spectrum of involvement. It means recognizing this continuum that ranges from disengagement on the one side to over involvement, and you need to get that high, that healthy midpoint between being too involved or to be disengaged. And then acknowledging that the optimal level of involvement varies with the child's age. So for a younger child, you're going to be more involved than with an older teenager. So, and also personality plays a role, and then also their developmental needs also plays a big role. And these are all factors that we need to keep in mind when we start thinking about how do we support our learners. And then also we need to think about how to empower through boundaries. Setting boundaries that encourage children to take personal responsibility for their education is one of, I think, in modern times, one of our biggest challenges. And to teach them decision-making skills by allowing them to make choices about their learning within the parameters you've agreed upon. They need to, sometimes we just hand it over to them and they need to make these decisions, yes, but we need to guide them. Remember, decision-making skills is an executive function, and for most children, it only starts developing at the age of about 12 to 13, and it keeps on developing until your late 20s. So if you want the child to do some decision-making skills, you literally have to model it to them, do it with them, and teach it to them. It's not something that their brains are wired to do at an early age. So grade 5 and 6 and 7 learners, they are not great at this stage. So we have to help them with that. And then building competence and confidence. So provide opportunities for children to develop new skills in a supportive environment. And here I'm referring to the work of Vygotsky, who talked a lot about the zone of proximal development, of how do you support children without throwing them into the deep end. So I always say support to children is like literally, if you picture in your mind a donkey running and you have a little carrot in front of him, if the carrot comes too close to him, he's going to eat the carrot. So it must always just be just far enough to keep him running. Support to children is also like that. It must feel like within their reach, but just far enough to still develop independent skills. And celebrate milestones and achievements to build their confidence, but also encourage them to view setbacks as learning opportunities. And here I'm referring again to the work of Carol Dweck. I really encourage you to Google her. She has TED Talks. There's lots of interesting things that she's done a lot of research also on teenagers and younger children on growth mindsets. But what is important is that we need to celebrate the small milestones, and these milestones differ for each child. These milestones do not have anything to do with intellectual capabilities. Is what you can do, how much effort you put in, and could you keep to your timekeeping, to your planning. Could you find a place to complete something? All those things. The process for me at a young age is so much more valuable than the results, because that's the skills that they will need somewhere to excel in life. So if we carry on with this intricate balance of parental involvement and fostering independence while providing support, we need to think about the role of parental support. So offer emotional support and reassurance, particularly during times of academic stress or challenge. And this is for me throwing them into the deep end. It's when you say things, but it's your exam, you need to get through it. This is your homework, you need to get through it. That is not offering emotional support and reassurance. There are many other questions that we can ask to still foster independence without withdrawing them and throwing them into the deep end. So be attentive and responsive to your child's educational and emotional needs, and stepping in with guidance when necessary. So we don't need to do things for them, but our role is to guide. We need to be the guide in this process. And if you can find that balance on how to be the guide, then it will help your child a lot. And then also, remember, problem solving is also a skill that only develops later. It's also in the frontal area of the brain. Most of that development happens also later in life. So for many children, they just don't have the wiring for this. And we need to model to them how we solve problems so that they can learn the skill. So rather than providing immediate solutions, guide, and here I will come back to this word a lot, guide children through the process of problem solving, which can foster independence. Ask guiding questions that prompt them to consider different perspectives and possible solutions. And that's how you model problem solving to children. And then also use collaborative goal setting. Involve children in setting educational goals to encourage a sense of ownership over their learning, because remember, we would like them to take ownership over their learning. To constantly force your child to learn does not give them ownership. They just follow the rules. They just keep you happy. We would like them to take ownership of their learning. And for that, you need to use quite a few techniques so that it's not like you force them to learn. It should come from the inside. Regular review then of these goals together to reflect on progress, adjust plans as needed. So sit with your child and make your goals, set your goals, talk about it, and add your input, get their input, make it a collaborative effort. Also create a conducive learning environment at home. Ensure there's a quiet and organized space for children to study. Study in your room is not always the best place for all subjects. Certain subjects, yes, you can study in your room. Other subjects, studying in a communal area is sometimes better. So think about where is the best place for them to study. Some children prefer to study at the same desk all the time. Talk about it. Talk about what will promote concentration. What is a work conducive atmosphere? Take their personality into consideration. So remember, some children, if you isolate them in their room, they're literally going to do nothing because they need that energy from social interaction. Some children, surprisingly, learn better when they're actually even in part of a conversation. So talk about it, think about it. What will be the best environment for your child? Get their input. And then also develop a partnership with your teachers. Remember, our Kiro teachers are so dedicated to your children. They will always assist you where they can. So have an open communication with your teachers to understand their educational objectives. Remember, many of you might not be familiar with IEB if your child is in IEB school. So ask those questions. Why is it different? What is different? How do they set their papers? Your teacher will be more than willing to help. And then also ask them, how can we align the support at home with the curriculum? So that you are well informed. Attend your parent-teacher meetings. I know sometimes we preach to the converted, but it is so important, that parent-teacher meeting. You get valuable feedback on your child. The teacher will get valuable feedback on the learner. So that to stay informed and involved, for me, a big part of a child's development is that parent-teacher meeting. So make time for it. It is really important. And then, if children see you read, they become a lot of the times readers. If children see you study or know that you are a lifelong learner or you learn new things, you attend courses, they will also know that that's part of life. So demonstrate your own commitment to learning by engaging in education activities and sharing your experiences. If you enroll on something online, maybe it's just a short course, or you watch a YouTube video, you can tell your child, I'm learning something new, so that they know learning is a lifelong process and it's not only linked to exams. I sometimes get so anxious when children think that they only learn because they need to pass an exam. They need to learn to be successful in life. They need to be lifelong learners. Learning is a self-directed process, and the only way that we going to get them there, if we model our own lifelong learning processes to them and share it with them, then they will know that is a part of life. So this models the value of education and shows that learning is a continual and an enjoyable process, especially if you are interested in something. Strategies for busy parents to stay involved in their children's education, because I was thinking I'm going to put these slides in at this point in time, because I know so many of you are so busy and thinking, yeah, he's now telling us these things to do, but where do I get the time for it? So one of the tricks that works well, I use it in my own life as well, is to establish a daily check-in time. It can be brief, as long as it's regular conversations about school, even if it's a 10-minute discussion over dinner, over a phone call. Keep yourself informed about what your child is learning, and if there are any challenges that they may face. And then use technology. Technology is your friend. All these apps that you get are really designed by busy parents for busy parents. So utilize these tools. They really allow you to stay updated with minimum time invested. And set up a homework-friendly area. Create a quiet, well-lit space with the necessary supplies for children to do their homework. Make it nice, make it friendly, put all the nice stationery there, because this will demonstrate the importance of education and allow parents to monitor their child's progress and their learning habits, and make it visual and make it interesting and according to your child's preferred way of working with information. And again, attend school events selectively. If you're a busy parent, you know you're too busy to attend everything. So stop feeling guilty about it. Make good decisions. Choose important ones, such as your parent conferences, maybe back to school nights or events where your child is participating. Choose which ones you can do and make the most out of it. And then also, it works well for me, is literally to delegate educational responsibilities. One partner might just be more available to take care of the care of the learning activities, the homework. So delegate the responsibilities. And utilize your travel time. Conversations about school can take place during drives, extracurricular activities, while running errands. Use those times which is already available, and then plan ahead for your parent-teacher interactions. Busy parents can schedule phone calls. You know, there are many ways that you can make appointments with your Kiro teachers. They can send you links to their booking ways. Just acquire at your school. Ask what is the best way, especially if you're a busy parent. And remember, in Kiro, we used to working with busy parents, so they always come up with a solution. And then encourage reading. Building a culture of reading at home doesn't require much time. Parents can encourage children to read independently and maybe discuss the book briefly afterwards. Also, when you are on your phone, Tell them what you are doing. Oh, I'm reading a book on my phone. I've downloaded this book and I'm reading it, so that they also can see when you're on your phone. It's not always to communicate. Sometimes you use your phone to do research. You use your phone to read a book, so that you can communicate that message as well. And that's how you model lifelong learning for them. And then sometimes you just have to be involved in the homework indirectly. So if you cannot actively participate in homework, you can still show your interest by asking about it, and check it if once it's completed. And then also make sure that they have access to educational resources. You can provide books, educational apps. If you utilize all the Office 365 that your child gets with your Kiro credentials, there are so many resources that they can utilize. If you don't know about these digital resources that is available to our Kiro children, ask your teachers. Make contact with the digital transformation team. Ask them to make, and they will provide all these. And there are so many trainings to empower you to get to these resources and to these tools. And then also volunteer strategically if you're busy. Offer to help in ways that fit your schedule, like preparing materials for a class project at home or attending field trips that occur during your day off if you have time. Utilize your weekends and holidays. But for me, the most important part is set academic goals together with your child, be a role model, and stay connected with your teachers. So now on the other side, if you are one of those parents who needs guidance with micromanagement of your child's academics, sometimes we overstep. We go into this micromanagement mode, and let's talk a little bit about that. I think it's important to define clear expectations. Begin by clearly defining the expectations for homework and study habits. Decide what is that. It's different from when you were a child. So set a framework within which a learner can operate independently. So think about this. Think about the milestones and the check-in points where you will review progress together. So by standing literally looking over your child's shoulder is counterproductive. So agree on milestones where you're going to check in, make it doable milestones, achievable milestones, things that children will be able to achieve. Less is usually more, and this helps to maintain oversight without that constant interference. And then also foster self-regulation, encourage children to set their own short-term goals and create a plan to achieve them. And then time management skills are also is also an executive function. So again, time management is only developing quite late. I think in late high school, most children will, well, I think even in your 20s, you still battle with this, because that's also a part of your frontal part of your brain. So using a planner or a calendar can really help you with that. It doesn't come naturally because you don't have the wiring yet as a child. So you as an adult can play a valuable role to model this to your child and allow them to experience natural consequences for their actions, whether it's the pride of a job well done or a lesson learned from missing a deadline. Remember, if it's a job well done, you never tell your child, I'm proud of you. You tell them, you can be so proud. Yes, you can say, I'm so proud of you, but you can be so proud about what you've achieved. And if it was a missed deadline, you can tell them this might be disappointing for you. Not I'm disappointed, you are disappointed, but you say you might feel disappointed missing that deadline, but it's a growth opportunity. We're just not there yet. So what can we do the next time when we get into this situation? And that's where you start guiding them, not blaming them, guiding them through this process. And then I always say, equip them with the skills, but don't provide. provide the resources and tools needed for the learners, so you equip them with that to complete their work, but we resist the urge to do the work for them. Sometimes the teachers will give you an assignment which is aimed for the whole family to be involved, and there's lots of educational value in it when they give you something that's just a little bit higher than what a child can do on their own, because we want children to work with their parents and to learn together and have all that interaction because it's good for their development. But when it is a project or inquiry-based learning, it is designed for the child to do it by themselves. If you as a parent is doing it for them, what are they learning? What is the sense of it? Then it doesn't make any sense. So don't provide all of that. Equip them, help them, guide them to do it. Share strategies and methods that can aid in problem solving and critical thinking rather than providing the direct answers or dictate or do it for them. And again, encourage autonomy in learning. Ask open-ended questions that encourage learners to think for themselves and develop their own opinions and solutions. We get it often where universities complain about children getting there, or they're now young students, and then the first thing is that they can answer any question that is fact related or what they studied, but they can't give their own opinion or solutions. And that is a skill that we as parents can really assist teachers to develop the children for. And when they come to you with a problem, guide them with the questions. What do you think is the next step? How do you plan to tackle this issue? So do not provide, equip, guide. Those are the golden words. And then provide constructive feedback. Offer feedback that is specific, that is helpful, and focus on the process rather than the outcome. Think about where they are, give them advice in that point of time, and do not be as focused on the end product. So I notice you use your notes effectively while working on your math problems is much better than telling them that's not the correct answer. And then balance praise with critical feedback. Remember, we always use what they call the hamburger method, or some people call it 2 wishes and 2 stars and a wish. So you start off with something positive, and then you tell them something that you would like them to change, and you add to something positive again. So it's like the 2 buns and the patty. Something positive, something you wish you want to change, and then something positive again. Some people use the 5-finger technique, where you always start with the finger which is this is positive, and then the finger that points to the facts. The middle finger is always put the child in the middle when you talk to the child. Your ring finger is always think what you say and how it will affect the relationship with the child. And your pinky finger is the commitment that you make to follow up, or the promise you're going to make. So that's how you use the 5-finger method when you start giving feedback or talk to children. And then be a resource, not a rescuer. I know Sunday evenings, 9 o'clock, Mom, Dad, we have a task for tomorrow and I have nothing. So make it clear that you are available for guidance and support, but you are not 911. You are not the rescue, not for every challenging task. So they can use you as a resource, but you're not going to do it for them. They need to know cause and effect. This empowers learners to develop independence and problem-solving skills, knowing they have a safety net if needed. And then also create a collaborative environment. Engage in regular discussions about school projects and subjects. So if you know that a project is coming up, don't keep quiet about it. Often talk about it. Do not ask how far they are. Talk about what you see, something interesting, just to keep reminding them and to help them to prioritize it. Remember, to prioritize something is also a skill that only develop later in life. It's also an executive skill. It's part of your prefrontal cortex. So, but by talking about it, not reminding them, talking about it puts it in a prioritizing space for them. And it also indicates that you are also interested and would like to learn. Encourage learners to share what they've learned and to ask for your input only when they've exhausted their own avenues of inquiry. And then also model positive behavior. Uh, uh, when they get a project, don't tell them how bad it is and how stressed you are about it, and as it is you. It's not your responsibility. You're only there to guide. It's still their project, their responsibility, and you need to talk a lot about that. Show how you manage your task without micromanaging every detail, reinforcing the value of trust in one's own abilities. So when it comes to children's academic success, we need to talk a little bit about parenting styles and how it affects. So one of the better parenting styles, like there are many different ones, but the one more successful one and the one that's most beneficial to children is the authoritative parenting style. So it's characterized by high responsiveness and high demand. So you've got this balance between you are very involved emotionally with your child, but you also expect a lot of them, and you are in that process of being part of this. So this is a very a balanced approach to parenting. So key features are like you establish clear expectations and consequences from them. You engage in open communication with your child, and you nurture independence, and they may have a opinion. You encourage reasoning and talking about things. So what is the impact from this parenting style on academic success? Learners tend to be more self-reliant and achieve better academically, and it enhances problem-solving skills and motivation to succeed. Now we get the authoritarian parenting style, and this is the parenting style that's best described when you tell them, because I said so. This is we call them the lions. They are the ones who is taking a total autocratic style. Children should be seen and not heard. So they have very high demands. They know exactly what they want from their children, but they are not as warm or as lenient towards their children. They have very strict rules and expectations. They don't allow a lot of dialogue with their children, and when the children are wrong, they punish them. So punishment is a big part of this parenting style. The impact on academics: learners may achieve academically. Usually these children do very well, but only out of fear or pressure. It doesn't come from the inside. So there's a risk of low self-esteem and high levels of stress. And then you get your permissive parenting style. I always say this is where you have very obedient parents and very demanding children. So here's a high responsiveness. So they are very emotionally in tune with their children, love their children, will do everything for their children. They put their children's needs above everything, and they don't really expect a lot from their children because they do most of the work. So as long as their only goal is to make their children happy and to ensure that their children are happy. So there are not a lot of rules, and many of the rules don't have any consequences. Although they are very nurturing and they're very lenient, they understand everything, and they are very, very lenient, often acts more like a friend than a parent to their children. So what is the academic of this permissive parenting style on academic success? Learners may struggle with self-discipline and time management. They have a higher potential for academic underachievement. And those are the two most ones. And then you get the uninvolved parents, the ones who are always on their phones, who are always away, who never have time for their children. So they have a low responsiveness, so there's very low connectedness with the children, and very low demands as well, very absent usually. So the key features are limited involvement or interest in the learner's activities, often lacks knowledge of the learner's academic progress, And the impact is that this learner may feel unsupported and neglected and has a greater risk of behavior issues, and academic underachievement is also at risk for these children. Then you get your helicopter parents. They are over-involved, overly concerned about the learner's experience. They're hovering all the time over the learner. Whatever happens, they solve every crisis for their child. They are overly communicating about everything. They're always very, very active on the WhatsApp groups. So they're constantly hovering over the learner, often intervening unnecessary. So this child, they don't make any decisions because mom and dad makes all the decisions for them. They overly focused on minute details of the learner's academic or personal life. They really want to know every little detail of the homework. Where did they go wrong? They go through all the exam papers. They query everything. So the impact on the academic success is learners may become overly dependent and lack problem-solving skills because mom and dad solve all the problems for me. Elevated levels of anxiety. One would think if mom and dad are solving all the problems for me that they won't have anxiety. It's the opposite. They usually have high anxiety levels and they really don't have any self-confidence. Most of the time also a low self-esteem because they think they're just not good enough to do anything. They're just not good enough to try anything because somebody else will do it better than they will do. And then we get the snowplow parents. This is the last one I'm going to go. As you can see, this little girl here in the back, mom and dad is taking away all the obstacles. They will clear every obstacle from this learner's path. They remove all the challenges, all the difficulties before the learner encounter them. They are the ones who solve problems proactively even before the child will encounter them. Something like if they need to do research, they will get it so long and put it all together for the child. So this child is just receiving, never think about anything. They make decisions for the learner to prevent failure or hardship. So these learners always succeed. They don't even know the sensation if they are failing. And then these learners might not develop resilience or any coping mechanisms if there are changes or things that they need to handle. And they also risk of underdeveloped life skills and the inability to handle setbacks. So there's a fine line between engagement on the one hand and control on the other hand. So if you hover over your child all the time, staying overly close to the child, constantly monitor their activities and schoolwork, that is a problem. Difficulty stepping back to allow the child to handle tasks independently is one of these signs. Children exhibit signs of anxiety or stress when they are constantly supervised. Learners show resilience on parental presence for completing even the most simplest tasks. And then another sign is micromanaging every aspect. In-depth, excessive control over the child's study schedule, methods. You work out the study schedule. You decide on the best method for them to study. You design all the activities. So you micromanage every little aspect of their academics. Those signs, if you are guilty of this, is like you set unrealistic academic standards and expectations for your child. You decide what is the best for your child. I know you do, but sometimes they are, just measure them. Talk to your teacher, measure if they are realistic. Taking over school projects and assignments, you are the one who are really leaving little room for the child to do the things their own way. You sit through the night and do those projects. And children appear frustrated or demonstrate a lack of confidence in their abilities if you micromanage everything. And then you get people who dictate every decision, making decisions for the child without their input or disregard their preferences and interests. So this signs of dictating is children have a minimal choice in their educational or extracurricular activity. exhibiting a strong aversion to allowing the child to experience and learn from failures. And learners seem disengaged from the learning process, showing no personal interest or investment. So, what are the signs if you're crossing these lines? I think emotional distress in the learner, they will tell you that. Remember, I said it earlier again, behavior is a way of a child to communicate with you. So watch out for signs of anxiety, depression, or withdrawal from usual activities. Increased instances of somatic complaints such as headaches, stomach aches, particularly related to school or academic work. And then resistance from your learners, noticeable pushbacks from the child when it comes to parental involvement in homework or school related. When you want to help them, the pushback that comes from them, leave it, I can do it on my own. And then they will start express their irritation or anger when you attempt to intervene in their learning process. And then also that lack of motivation. There's like a apathy towards learning or education in general, reluctance to go to school or engage in activities, lack of initiative in starting or completing their schoolwork without excessive prompts from the parents. So what is the impact of parental behavior on a learner's motivation? So if you've got a positive behavior and you use active listening, you praise for effort, you establish routines, those are the positive one. Counterproductive behaviors are like constant criticism. You know, when I was your age, I had to study for 5 hours, and that's why I became a medical doctor. Setting unrealistic expectations. I could study for so long. Excessive pressure. That kind of thing is very counterproductive. So the correlation between a supportive home environment and a learner's intrinsic motivation is really important. Active listening is a very positive parental behavior. So, and this refers to parents giving full attention to their children, showing an interest in their academics, and being responsive to their educational needs. So the benefit is it builds a trusting relationship, encourages learners to share more about their school life, and helps understanding the learner's individual challenges and strengths, and it fosters self-esteem and confidence as learners feel valued and heard. I always say praise for effort rather than ability. We've discussed this because this encourages a growth mindset. Again, read the work of Carol Dweck there. Help them to establish routines because it provides structure, which enhances focus and discipline. It assists learners in managing their time and prioritize their workload, and can reduce stress for learners by creating predictability in their study habits. So counterproductive parental behaviors is constant criticism, because that will really create a negative self-image and diminish self-esteem, often leads to decrease in academic risk-taking, and really can foster an aversion to learning and school-related tasks. Setting unrealistic expectation, expecting more than the learner can deliver considering their age, ability, or their individual circumstances. The consequences are may cause unnecessary stress and anxiety, can lead to feeling of inadequacy and chronic self-doubt in learners. So often results in disconnect between learners and their natural learning pace and interest. And the last one is excessive pressure, pushing the learner too hard to achieve academic success. The consequences is it can result in burnout, and we get burnout now even at 5 and 6 years old. So I had an interview not long ago with Dr. Elzette Fritz, and she told me about foundation phase children who already have all the signs of burnout. So where the child really loses interest in school due to excessive stress, might lead to mental health issues like anxiety and depression, and overshadowed by the pressure to perform. So our job is to create a supportive home environment that provides emotional security, acknowledges the learner's feeling, and often guidance with respecting the learner's autonomy. Because this impact on the intrinsic motivation, it nurtures persistence and a positive attitude towards challenges, with learners more inclined to view difficult tasks as opportunities to grow rather than insurmountable obstacles. And then a few parting thoughts, which I'm going to close now with. So as we close this session, let us remember that the journey of learning is as intricate as it is beautiful. It is a path laid with challenges and triumphs, and each step enriched by the supportive presence of a parent. So that is all I want to talk about tonight. If there are any questions, you're more than welcome to ask them in the Q&A. I will be online for a while, so please, you can type in your questions if you have. If you would like this this PowerPoint presentation, you can contact your school, and you can just ask your school to send an email to me, Johan van Lille. And this will also be available on our YouTube channel from Kiro, so you can get that information, and we are more than willing to share this PowerPoint with you in a PDF format. So if there are any questions, you're more than welcome to ask those questions now. Just type them in the chat for now. And if you don't have any questions, you're more than welcome to log off at this point. Remember, we have parent webinars every Monday at 7 o'clock. We also have ones for early childhood development parents, for the younger ones, on a Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock. You'll find the information on Kiro's social media platforms. So you're also more than welcome to join those sessions. They aim specifically at parents with children younger than with children for preschool children. Very interesting sessions as well. But these sessions we have every Monday at 7 o'clock, and you are more than welcome to join us. I don't see any questions yet, so I don't think there are any questions. If there are any questions and you would like to contact me personally, I'm going to put in the chat, I'll put my email address, and you are more than welcome to send me any questions if you would like me to assist you with something. So my email address is Johan V, no marks anything, and it's just johanv@kiro.co.za, and I'm a part of the Kiro Learner Support Unit. I see no questions so far, so I assume we don't have any questions. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope to see all of you next Monday at 7 o'clock again. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you so much for attending. From me, Johan van Lille, until next Monday, goodbye.